Welcome to episode 83 of Timm Talk, the podcast about the DC animated universe co-created by Bruce Timm. I'm Chris Lord.
I'm Cameron Dexter.
And we're doing something a little bit different this week. We're only doing one episode. But because it's Mad Love, there was no way it could just be Cameron and myself. We had to bring along our good friend CJ.
How's it going?
Now, you requested this episode specifically.
I did.
So before I get to why, let's start with what's your general relationship with the DCAU? Like, did you watch in this stuff when it aired originally? Have you been catching up over the years?
So I actually watched it live when I was younger. It was the thing that I would do after school, and I think like they would show repeats on Fox Kids on Saturday morning. So I would like do that. But actually, Batman the Animated Series is one of the things that I realized every single roommate I've had since college have bonded with me with.
Really?
Like, yeah, we've all
What?
we're like, oh, I really liked watching Batman the Animated Series. And so at some point in time, we'll have like a day where it's literally like grown adult men sitting in front of a TV screen with like cereal, and me and my best friend we bought capes. So like he has
Amazing.
a Superman cape and I have a Batman cape, and we literally just sit in front of the TV watching Batman the Animated Series.
I mean,
That's amazing.
If I had a cape, that would have been my morning today was doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I realized, I was like, no, I've actually done it with every single one of my roommates at least once since college. So
Oh my God.
It's
Now,
a series that lasts.
when you sit down to watch, what episodes do you watch? I'm assuming you're probably not going for Terrible Trio. Maybe
No.
no Moon of the Wolf.
No,
maybe?
honestly, like it's one of those things where you just put on a random one. You know, it's I've always illegally downloaded the series, so it's
alright.
kind of like
It's all right. I'll
was
just
it-
bleep that part.
Yeah.
It's fine.
We don't have sponsors. It's all right.
Yeah, it's true. Actually, no one pays us.
Yeah.
Fucking fine.
But Mad Love is one that I gravitate to. I have to watch it when I watch the animated series. I just love this episode so much.
It's incredible. Like, now, Cameron, have you seen this before?
No.
You hadn't seen this
I
before.
haven't.
Oh my God. What was it like to watch it for the first time? Paint us a picture.
Well,
Draw us a picture. You're an
well,
artist.
Okay. I'll start with the Snapchat. So I knew it was a Harley origin episode.
Okay.
I thought the whole episode was going to be that.
Mhm.
So when they kind of went through her within like kind of 4 minutes.
Yeah, it's
I was
pretty quick.
Oh, that
Yeah.
was because I was expecting the whole thing to be a flashback because we've had a couple episodes like that.
Yeah.
But it was kind of nice to see her kind of independent of Joker and how they. And I also knew like the slap was in this like the
Yeah.
abusive parts.
Oh God. Yeah.
It gets.
Yeah. But no, it was fun. It was a great episode.
Yeah, because I think it's interesting that Heart of Ice is considered by most people to be the best episode. We've talked about this. It's not my personal favorite. It's not yours either, right?
No.
No. I'm going to throw this out there. I think this is a better episode than Heart of Ice.
I think Heart of Ice had. Well, it's hard to do emotion with Harley because she is such a slapstick character.
Yeah.
You do get, and that's kind of why I wish they did stay in the flashback a little bit more. Is I wanted like 2 or 3 more scenes of her transforming.
Okay. So it's interesting you brought that up. I was going to ask you guys this question because I did a little bit of research this time. I actually did some work before going into this, and I already owned Mad Love the comic, so I read it. It's sitting here on the table. Now,
That was that thump.
yes.
That's the comic.
Look at such good Foley.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. Okay. And there's a little bit more in the comic. So one of the differences is they both start the same with Batman going to stop the Joker from killing Gordon in the dentist's office. Great goddamn scene. And then in the show, it then jumps to the Joker's hideaway. In the comic, it jumps to Batman coming back to the Batcave and having a brief expositional scene with Alfred where he fills in a little bit more of Harley's backstory. That she was like she was a gymnast, she got a scholarship.
She was a cheerleader who
Yeah.
eventually went to college and decided to take up psychology. I don't know if all of this is in there. I just know
Yeah.
her origin story. Like a very demanding father.
Look at you, all prepared.
See, this is what having like a podcast partner who actually prepares must feel like.
You're spoiling me, CJ.
My only thing is that Harley, this particular episode, I realized as I rewatched it, it
Here, go,
stood
Cameron.
out to me.
You can
as
catch
a
up
kid.
in 2 pages.
Thank you.
It stood out to me as a kid, and I think I connected with it in a way that only now I realize.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is I was hugely into psychology.
Okay.
Growing up, like And so that the fact that she was a psychologist and, you know, just basically got too close to her patient and the ramifications of that, I think, again, it just kind of connected with me, and like her relationship with the Joker echoes a lot of my history with dating. So it's just like not the abusive parts, but just
You like clowns. You
I
mostly dated
love
clowns.
Yeah.
One of the things that really surprised me in this episode was I always thought, and I mean they might have changed it for this episode, but I always thought Harleen at this phase had kind of purer intentions of being there. But in this episode, they really played on the like she's only there for publicity. Like she
Yeah.
wants to help quote unquote these psychopaths because those are big stories, and that's what's going to get her recognized.
That was gonna be one of my questions for you guys, because that's more fleshed out in the comic. Like it's stated explicitly that, as you just read, Cameron, just now on air,
Yes.
that she like slept with one of her professors to get good grades, and that she just wanted to become like a world famous pop psychologist and had just not noble intentions. And I was curious, from based off just the episode when you guys watched it, what you thought of her. Did you feel sympathetic for her? Did you feel that her transformation was fully earned? Did you believe that she was there for good reasons? Or did you know all the way through, oh, she's just doing this for her own gain?
I mean, before the episode, I always had sympathy for her, and I have a little bit in this episode, just because like as the audience, you know, Joker is using and abusing her, but she kind of can't see through that haze.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah. I loved the scene of the switch where it's her therapizing.
Oh, right.
Her sitting on the couch when, you know, and kind of having
Yeah.
a little therapy session.
Yeah, it's her
No,
therapy session to
therapizing's
Joker.
right. It's the right
Yeah,
word. Yeah.
therapizing.
Yes.
And then the next scene is the flip where she's on the couch and Joker is asking her the questions
So did you?
and kind of like planting those little bugs.
Well, I actually I even took like a little note on that, what he says during that style, because again, that gives a lot of depth to her character, and it shows both what the Joker knows about her and what can see like almost instantly. And again, for me, it kind of like I identified with it. Like again, I'm telling way more about myself, but he says something along the lines of, give me 1 second, I'm so sorry. He says something along the lines of, you like grew up with a lot of restrictions and didn't allow yourself to have any kind of joy, so it makes sense that you would fall for a man that makes you laugh.
Yeah.
And you know, again, just kind of like pinpointing why she gravitated to him, and then using that and telling her that, you know, no, it's completely fine, it's okay. And I mean, he's not wrong that it is okay, but it's just very funny that, you know, therapy is used to manipulate.
Now, CJ, when you watched that, how did it make you feel?
Again, a little bit like, oh wow, I'm learning a lot about myself in this, but yeah.
Well, I think that's maybe the reason why I like this more than Heart of Ice. 'Cause, I mean, I get you're saying that Heart of Ice, he's more sympathetic. He's much more sympathetic in that. But what I like about this is that I think this fundamentally understands its characters a little bit more. I mean, obviously they completely rewrote Mr. Freeze for that, so it's understandable that isn't grounded in a deeper understanding of the character. It's like, oh, this is a completely new way of doing it, which is great. And I think that's part of the reason it's so groundbreaking was because, like, oh, let's approach him from an emotional perspective and not from just, oh, he's another villain of the week. But here, you can tell that Bruce Timm and Paul Dini really know all three of these characters. And I think we're getting them at their peak, like, interest. And, like, they are at their most versions of themselves here. Like, the Joker, we really get to what makes the Joker in this, too, right? When Harley says, oh, why don't you just shoot him?
Like, it's not funny enough.
It's not funny. And I think this one, maybe more than any other episode in the series or any other iteration, really understands that this version of the Joker is grounded in comedy. He's most concerned with comedy. Like, Heath Ledger's performance is amazing, but that's all about, like, anarchy. Chaos and defying order. And the Joker here, all he cares about the laugh, and the ultimate laugh is going to be killing Batman. And so we get why he does make these really irrational decisions, and sometimes he kind of lets Batman get away, because if it doesn't fit what he wants to get out of that, he'll just let it go.
True, but at the exact same time, I think it's interesting in this episode, it shows how, like, that motivation kind of clouds his judgment, because it shows his most successful plots, or at least in this particular episode, come from Harley. almost all of the plans are Harley's plans originally. Even later on in the episode, he almost shoots Batman, which is directly what Harley said he should just do.
Just shoot him. Yeah, I think he's so interesting here, and I think shy of Mask the Phantasm, this is probably his best episode. I don't know. What do you guys think about
Joker?
That?
I would say so.
Yeah, he's just so juicy in this one. He's so funny.
I feel like this is the best representation of like a maniac.
Yeah.
Before it's like he's just kind of another. What's the word? He's just like another bad guy.
Right.
And he even makes a joke. He's like, no, that's two Riddler.
Two
And
Riddler.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
He so many
two
good
Riddler.
lines in
That was
this.
like great for me.
Mm-hmm.
I also love the awareness of. I mean, like you guys have spoken about it before. How in Arkham, they see each other, they cross paths, they're all aware of each other with the team ups. But like the idea that the Joker would be like, no, even though I'm a clown and comedy and riddles can be like very close, he's like, no, that one leans a little too much.
It's too much.
It's too Riddler, and I gotta stick to my own brand, and I love that.
Well, I think we joked about that on some episode where like it was some bird statue and Catwoman wanted to steal it.
Oh,
and we're
yeah,
like, but that's Penguin's territory.
Penguin's.
She's not allowed to do that.
Right, because there was a BTOS episode, or it was New Batman Adventures, where it was like bird related. Because then we were talking about like, oh, has there ever been a point where they crossed over and it was the Batman where they're both trying to steal? It was like from one perspective it was like Horus, and the other one it was I don't know, some cat thing, some Egyptian cat thing. They're like fighting over it.
Yeah,
it's genius.
I like it.
But then it became some weird laser weapon at the end, and like, oh, this is why the Batman is not quite as good. Throws things out there, doesn't quite land in the same way.
Right.
Oh my god, yeah. So in the comic, there's also another line when Harley calls the Joker and he races over to the club. He's thinking like, oh my god, if Harley kills him, I'll never hear the end of it from Riddler and Two-Face and the Penguin. Like they'll just give me nonstop shit for having failed to do this the right way after all these years.
Ego is another motivator of his.
Huge.
The fact that even Batman uses it a little later on. He's like, I knew your ego couldn't allow her to succeed, and that was my only out. And I think that again, to kind of flesh out the Joker, you're like, oh yeah, the ego, that's one of the things that if you're going to be a villain, your ego has to be.
Well, even the line after that was he's like, Harley's been closer to killing than you ever have.
Yeah.
That's when you see Joker just kind of snap.
Oh, but Puddin.
Puddin.
I think this is one of the best performances from Kevin Conroy, too. Like the scene where he escapes from Harley. Should we actually talk about what happens in the episode?
I can go on. Like, there's literally
there's so much to talk about. Okay, well, I guess we'll talk about this now. But when Harley does successfully capture him, and he knows the only way he can escape is to manipulate her, and the way he does that is so genius.
The laugh, by the way, is very, very important because
I have to chilling.
That laugh is the fact that he is like Batman is laughing at you. I have to admit, I would be like, oh, whoa, what's going on? She's like, I don't like it.
It's so freaky. And again, the cool thing with this episode is it's almost an exact adaptation of the comic, and so like you read that in there, and it doesn't have the same impact as hearing Kevin Conroy laugh because we never hear him laugh. We never hear him laugh as Batman.
Exactly.
We hear his very fake Bruce laugh all the time. But his Batman laugh is so unsettling.
Yeah.
And Harley's just like shrinking and freaking out and really terrified of what that means.
Exactly.
And the fact that he laughs and is just like, oh, you little fool.
Yeah.
You don't get it.
So speaking of voice actors or voice acting, we always bring up that Kevin Conroy has 3 Batman voices.
Yeah.
Hearing Harley have 2 voices was huge. And that was a really cool thing to hear of like her professional voice, which she uses to convince Batman that she's turning on Joker.
Yeah.
And then immediately when she captures him, she slips back into Harley Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
Like that
you're
was
awake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was I loved that. I loved seeing that like other characters can use the same manipulation tactic that he can.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, great performance out of Arlene Sorkin. Like,
yes,
she's always great, but I think here she's at her peak because like, exactly that. She gets to go through that range. And what's interesting, too, is that also then throws out the idea that she's always putting on a bit of an act. That the Harley voice is not her natural voice, but that's the only one we've ever known.
Mm-hmm.
So the entire time we spend with her, she's always putting on the show. Even when she's with Ivy, when she's kind of a little bit more herself, she's still doing that. And so it's so interesting to see she can slip back into that, and that she's always playing a character on some conscious level.
Well, I don't know how much you want to go into it, but
all of the way into it.
One of the not fan theories, but someone kind of wrote a little small snippet to explain the different looks that Harley has, and it's kind of like she has multiple personalities, or she's developing some kind of multiple personality. So that would also fit that, that would be canon, to explain that. But in terms of acting and Harley acting, I also loved the scene on the dock because it showed how good of an actress she was.
Yeah.
In general, like, not only in the TV screen, which is like easy to do, but when she's standing out there on the dock and she's looking, kind of lost, she's convincing in the I'm both terrified because I'm about to betray my lover, and also when Batman just shows up, she seems shocked. All of this is part of her plan, but she just does it so convincingly. And the fact that she even thought of how to distract Batman, which is by using the Joker as like being angry at her. Like it's just well thought out, and she does it very convincingly.
Now, I have to ask this. Where do we think the Joker dummy came from? What was its original intended purpose?
Oh, I bet Joker has a whole cabinet of wax sculptures of himself.
So what do you think he plans to do with all of those?
I bet it's for costume changes. Because I feel like he doesn't, like, all the mirrors he has, I feel like are broken.
Yeah.
So he just has dummies of himself that have his different, like, he puts his outfits on them to see what he would look like. And then if he doesn't like it, he'd set them on fire.
Yeah. To Riddler, onto the next costume. Oh my God, that makes perfect sense. Because I was like, we just forgive little things. I'm like, where did that come from? But I could see him doing that. I could see him having this like an army of these things that just uses decoys sometimes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, but like yours is way more fun. I think that's what it mostly gets used for. You could see him like having invested money at some point to build these elaborate like animatronic things, and they just sit around and he just dresses them up as he pleases.
Yeah, that's exactly what he does.
Absolutely love it.
Do you think because he also had that Batman dummy, do you think he's ever put the Batman costume on his own dummy and seen what he looks like?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
How could you not?
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly. It's my favorite. One of my favorite episodes of Teen Titans that I'm sure I've brought up a dozen times already is The Quest from season 3, where Robin leaves to go learn martial arts from like the best martial artists in the world, and then the other Titans all wear the Robin outfit.
Yes,
and they all have their own utility belts. And it's just such a like fun B story of like, well, we can't not put on the utility belt like that.
Yeah.
That's we have to.
I had forgotten about that episode.
And then the best scene is, I think it's Cyborg on Robin's motorcycle, but they don't want to turn it on. So Beast Boy's waving his cape in the background to just like act like he's flying. And it's so wonderful.
Is this Teen Titan Go?
No, this is regular Teen Titans.
All right.
Cameron hates Teen Titans Go.
I don't hate Teen Titans Go. It's just
I
like...
mean, really?
Here's the thing. I know a lot of people like who are fans of Teen Titan hate Teen Titan Go, and I'm just way more into the comedy side, and I haven't seen it. But there is an episode in Teen Titan Go where I think Batman's out of town or something, and Robin takes everyone to the Batcave, and they just go crazy with trying on the different Batman costumes, and Robin's just like, no, you can't touch that. And they're just like, each one is like, like they're wearing Batgirl or like something else, Nightwing's costume, and again, he's just like going crazy because it's like, you're not allowed to touch this. It's very unsupervised kids in parents' basement type thing.
Oh my God, that does sound amazing. I've never watched Teen Titans Go. I think you've sent me some clips before, though.
Yeah.
Usually centered around Robin. But I have to admit, I'm actually quite excited for the new movie.
Me too.
It looks like it's a really clever idea. Like, Robin has never had a movie. He wants one of his own, and no one will make it. And like it looks like it's going to be that same level of like Lego Batman.
Right, like very meta humor.
Yeah, very meta, very much self-parody, understanding its genre and its whole world.
Even the advertising, they're doing great with it, with everyone wearing the Wonder Woman outfit.
Yes!
Of like, is this not how we get a movie?
Yeah. I think it's going to be really fun.
I'm
like,
excited.
that was one of the ones I was least excited for. The more that comes out about it, the more excited I am for it.
And especially getting the voice acting of Nick Cage.
My God, yeah.
Finally getting his dues as Superman.
Well, and also Jimmy Kimmel as Batman.
Oh my God, that's so
good.
Which
is like, it's so weird, but it's also so perfect.
Which means Matt Damon has to be in it somewhere.
I didn't even think about that.
He has to.
I would love that.
Okay.
I hope it's Nightwing.
Oh, wait. Do we know in Teen Titans Go? Do we know? Isn't that Dick Grayson?
Oh, that is. I guess so.
But I mean, but I think they're so self-aware though. They probably would have
Yeah.
a Nightwing cameo pop.
Yeah,
up
they're gonna be like
somewhere.
on the movie set, and like, well, what about this? Like, we love having Robin in the story, but we
Yeah.
need someone to get the teenage audience.
Yeah.
We have this guy, Nightwing.
Oh my! I'm trying to think who else it could be. We've heard Alfred in the trailer, right?
I think so.
I think we did. So that'd be amazing if they had Matt Damon.
Well, it has to be someone that, because I feel like they have. If Jimmy Kimmel's in it, they have to bring up the feud with Matt Damon.
Yeah.
So it has to be someone that Batman hates.
Maybe Batmite.
Maybe
No, who
because
does
that has to have a higher pitched voice.
Who does Batman? Who? Okay, let's think. Like Justice League. This is the area we know the most from the cartoon. Who's like the one character that Batman would have no time for ever?
Booster Gold.
Oh my god! I think you've hit it. If that is genius.
It's Booster Gold or Plastic Man.
Or yeah. Oh my god! I really hope it's Booster Gold.
Me too.
That'd be so. But I'm trying to think though, because I could also see at the same time them like having in the movie itself them making a Booster Gold movie. Be like, even Booster Gold is getting a movie, and I haven't gotten one.
Yeah.
So
or it's just regular Matt Damon walking
It's
across
just
the movie
Matt
set,
Damon.
and Batman just like, I have to mess with him.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Weren't there like rumors years ago that Booster Gold was getting his own TV series?
There was talk about a buddy cop style movie with Booster Gold and Blue Beetle.
That's right.
Yeah, and I want to say Greg Berlanti was attached to it at some point. I mean, because he's attached to everything now. So, I mean, imagine if that were true, they would be pushing even harder for that to get made, considering that he, I think, recently broke the record for the number of shows in production at the same time.
Greg Berlanti?
Yeah, I think he beat out, not Chuck Lorre, although he had a lot. It might have been, is it Bruckheimer?
This is your category through and
God
through.
damn it, who?
We're not here to correct you.
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys are in the weeds for me right now.
This is going to bother me. But yeah, like, Greg Berlanti now has the most shows on TV.
Good for him.
Also, okay, we weren't going to talk about news, but did you guys? There's one thing I absolutely have to talk about because I'm super excited about this. We're in the Berlanti talk right now. Batwoman is going to be
I
the
got
crossover.
a message immediately.
Oh, I bet you did. I am so excited. You've read the Batwoman comics?
No, I haven't.
I have all of them.
I'm not gonna lie. I was gonna say this earlier when we were doing introductions. I've actually never read a comic of.
There's someone here that I've read more than.
Well, no.
Wait, hang on. Clarify yourself. What?
Yeah, no. Honestly, so I grew up.
Like, you've never read a comic book?
No, my
You've out Cameroned Cameron
Yes.
on his own podcast.
I grew up where I was not allowed to read a lot of like I just wasn't allowed to have like a lot of these things.
Okay.
TV, I was unsupervised for half an hour, so like what was whatever.
Yeah.
But like I couldn't have secular things. So
Oh my God.
I didn't have comic books. I was given one comic. I was actually given the Preacher graphic
Ooh,
novel.
That's a
and I
strange
have
place
it.
to start.
Well, it's religious, so I was allowed to have that.
Did they
But-
not realize how?
No, they
'Cause
didn't.
Okay, it's like that's not religious and interesting.
But,
Religious adjacent.
It said Preacher on it. On
So
the
there we
cover,
go,
so-
it's fine.
I
There's a chapel in the background.
Exactly.
I think
Yeah.
it might be on fire.
I think it is actually.
Again, no one got into the weeds of it. I was just handed it, and it had the title that I was allowed to. But anyway, that said, I never read an actual comic, and it's actually I just watched all of the things that were on TV. So like
Yeah.
I said, Saturday morning cartoons and stuff like that. And to see how much is like of media now is like based on comic book lore, it's
Yeah.
like, oh man, I really missed out.
Oh my God, I have so much for you to read.
Oh, I mean, like I'm clearly going to borrow stuff now.
Yeah. No, I have all the Batwoman stuff. I mean, Batman Year One, Long Halloween, Dark Victory, Hush, Arkham Asylum, Superman Red Sun. Oh my God, the list.
I will take all of
DC
it.
New Frontier.
I was gonna say there's one that you're missing out on. Chris, what was do you remember your first comic?
I don't remember my first comic. So there was something called like the Batman Superman magazine or something like that way back in the day. The DC Watchtower guys, they've talked about it before. I remember having that because I remember it was a picture of BTOS era Batman with that style of Superman next to him, and there was like little mini comics. I kind of remember those. I think I must have had some Batman like random one issue comics when I was younger. I'm trying to think. Long Halloween must have been one of the pretty early on one of the first
wow.
ones that I bought. I read a lot of X-Men comics actually back in the day
Okay.
because I started reading.
Did you read trades or did you read books?
Always books.
Okay.
Yeah, I never went and bought issue by issue. I'm lazy.
No, that's fine.
I'm lazy. It's a lot of work, and I would rather read it all collected and get like one arc done, and then wait a while and then come back to it, than like go week by week, which is probably blasphemy for an actual comic.
You were like,
even as a child, I had no patience
No,
for anything.
That's what I'm suffering through right now, waiting for Snot Girl Volume 2 to come out.
What now?
Snot Girl?
What?
It's Brian Lee O'Malley's new book.
Oh, okay. For those who
really
don't
good.
know, Brian Lee O'Malley did, of course.
Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
There we go.
I actually
Cameron's
really love
favorite
that
comic.
movie. I haven't read the comic.
The movie's great.
But
Comics
that
are even better.
movie.
Yeah, I haven't read the comic either, actually.
It's the cool thing of some think it's cool, some think it's really frustrating. Where Brian Lee O'Malley didn't finish the series while he was writing the script, or while Edgar Wright was writing the script, and so the ending of the movie is completely different from the ending of the books.
Which I like.
Yeah,
Gives you
exactly.
variety.
It's a new story.
Yeah.
But yeah, Snot Girl is a very millennial story. It's about a girl. She's an Instagram influencer, a social media influencer, who refuses to show any imperfections, but she's like allergic to everything.
Oh my god!
And so one girl like catches her having like an allergic reaction to something, and she kills her.
What?
It's her trying to like cover it up since then.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
That's not where I thought that was gonna go.
I'm signing on. You got me.
Yeah.
Because you're right. That took a twist.
Yeah.
Wait, so are you reading that like issue by issue?
No, because I can't find it anywhere.
Really? That's
Yeah.
surprising.
So the volume 1 came out last July, I want to say, and volume 2 was coming out next weekend.
Okay.
Oh,
okay. So you're reading them in like the collected trades.
Yeah.
Wait, what? Does trades? I've always been confused by this. Does trades refer to like the individual issues, or is that a?
That's what I refer to it as. Trades is issues, book is book.
I think that's right.
Right?
Well, why am I asking you?
Yeah, what I say.
Why am
I made it
why am I
clear
looking
that
at you?
I am
Yeah.
not.
I mean, we should know. There used to be a comic store behind me.
Used to.
Yes, it's true.
Oh, rest
Maybe
in
if we
peace,
knew this
Meltdown.
stuff, it'd still be open.
Maybe if we actually frequented their store sometimes and bought things.
know.
They never had anything though.
Mm.
Every time I went there to try and buy something, they never had what I was looking for. They just never had a great selection, sadly. But
Well,
again, not being an issue by issue person, that didn't really work for me.
Right.
Apparently, it didn't work for anyone.
No,
Yeah.
that's true. I'm one of those horrible people that buys comics off of Amazon.
That's fine.
I buy a lot of them at Barnes and Noble too. I'll give that some credit.
Well, I remember when Fat Collectibles was still here,
Oh yeah.
and they had like the most fun collection of just toys to look at. And then when they booted out Fat Collectibles, and that corner just became like WrestleMania corner.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, no one really cares about this stuff.
I feel like
That's not true. I'm sure we have a listener that has watched a WrestleMania.
Oh, I have some friends who are huge WrestleMania people.
Mhm.
They do Tuesday nights at Gym Bar.
Yeah.
You go to
No,
that?
I've actually never been. I've been invited.
Oh,
But,
okay.
I have friends who definitely take. What's like the big WrestleMania event that like, it's like
Raw?
the accumulation.
I want to say it's.
I don't know. There's like some.
I thought
big,
WrestleMania
huge
was the
Or maybe that is-
culmination.
it's-
I think it's WrestleMania. Oh, someone's yelling at us.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know.
So we are
Someone's
making
yelling
a lot
at
of
their
people
phone right
angry,
now.
But I just know.
I can hear banging on the other side of the wall.
I have a friend who like all of his friends get together and like kind of place bets on like who enters the ring and who exits and who's going to show up and all this other stuff. It's a really big deal. So WrestleMania is another one of those kind of underground things that has a following now.
Yeah, I've never really been into it. I did listen to the Nerdist podcast with John Cena recently, though.
Okay.
It was a really good podcast. He's really interesting.
He's really
He seems
funny.
like a very interesting guy.
Yeah.
Well, I remember the only time I was like really excited about wrestling was when Stephen Amell got into it for a hot minute.
because I guess he's always been a huge fan.
Yeah. Yeah. So who was it? Star something. Don't say Star Lord. It was not Chris Pratt. One of the wrestlers like went into the audience and got in Stephen Amell's face during a match, and then like over the next 2 months, they played out over social media, and it finally ended with Stephen Amell jumping in the ring.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I
And it
remember
was
when all this was
awesome.
going on. It was Starlight, Starbright.
I knew Star would be the next word that came out of your mouth.
Star
Star
Rocket at night.
Child.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Starburst.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah, Starburst.
Oh god, now I'm hungry. What were we talking about?
Mad Love.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Talk about- But I think even even right from the beginning, this episode starts off so great with the Joker luring Commissioner Gordon in, and just even what I love about that, it's sort of like a little prologue there, but it does set up the dynamic between Joker and Harley so well. Where she is so super faithful, and she's doing everything she can to help, but she doesn't necessarily.
Stardust. There we
Thank
go.
you.
This is the only one we didn't.
I know.
address.
God, well, I've never seen the movie.
Yeah.
So.
But no, you're right. So a few things on that are just kind of like Easter eggs or whatever. First of all, on the door of the dentist, it says Dr. J. Erkos or something like that, which is just an anagram of Joker. Which is like what he loves to do.
Yeah.
And
I don't know. That sounds pretty Riddler, though.
Yeah. It can be. He likes to do like these small little bits. And you were talking about the origin and the dynamic of Harley and Joker in this, and in that scene when she like tells like a joke, or she says something, the Joker gets really angry, and like she goes from being like this very dominating person to immediately submissive.
Yeah.
And she's like, yes, sir. And like that alone told me their dynamic. It's just like she enjoys that submissive, like being submissive to him.
Because she's very capable
Yeah.
on her own. And she's very capable when she's with Ivy. But even then, she like kind of slips into more of a beta personality sometimes. But yeah, you're right. Like when she gasses Batman with the nitrous oxide. And she's like, oh, it's a real gasser. He comes up and he grabs her hood. It's like, I'm the one who makes the jokes here. And at least for me, I don't know if it's the same for you guys, in that moment, it reminded me of the Grinch, actually, like the old Grinch cartoon with Boris Karloff.
Yeah.
When he, like, so it's like a perfect perpendicular two-shot. And I think it's him and Max. He's like Max right up in his face. I don't know if that was a deliberate reference point for them or not. Probably not. Probably just my weird brain going there. But you're right. It did set up.
Yeah, that's a weird reference for you to make. A movie that everyone has seen. God, how could you, Chris?
What did it remind you of, Cameron? Do you have some obscure thing?
No, I actually have a plot that I want written.
Okay.
Where, because we keep joking about Joker and Riddler in this episode, I would love a Riddler episode or comic story where he's finally fooled Batman.
Okay.
And like he's like, Batman's like trapped somewhere, he's about to blow up, and Joker is the one that comes in. He's like, no, you're not gonna get to do this. And he figures out the riddle. It's like he thwarts Riddler so he can get the chance to kill Batman.
That would be really
That would be really good. I know in the comics recently they had like the Joker Riddler Wars or something like that. Like there's a whole comic arc about the two of them going to war with each other, and everyone's caught in the middle.
Because they should, because they're very similar. They're very, very similar.
Yeah. I guess we never see the two of them interact over the course of the DCAU, do we? No, because we've had Penguin, Two-Face, and Joker kind of work together with Hugo Strange to try and get Batman's identity.
And then Riddler was with Clayface and... No, he was with Bane and...
Oh, yeah, Bane and the Mad Hatter.
That's right.
Yeah, and Nighttime. Oh, it's a great episode.
How close? I mean, like the Riddler, Mad Hatter, and the Joker. Like Batman's just kind of like, oh god.
Yeah, there's a lot of overlap.
Yeah, exactly.
Between those three.
Yeah.
But again, I love that. I love the idea of at least the Joker, and even what you were talking about, the Joker being very much about branding. It's like, no, I need to stay on brand.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He was the pre-millennial
Exactly.
in that regard.
Like, I assume I have the vision of like the Riddler using a Jack-in-the-Box for one of his clues, and Joker coming over and just like with a giant mallet smashing it. Like, that's not on brand.
Nope. Copyright infringement.
We share green. That's all you get.
That's
to
all
use.
you get.
Purple is mine. You get green and question marks.
But wait, Riddler has purple as well. They're actually like
That's
their color
true.
scheme is basically
Even their color
reversed.
scheme.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Oh dang.
Oh
They're
shit.
way more competing than I thought.
I know, man. There's so many things for them to argue about.
Yeah.
That would have been a really fun DCAU episode. To see the two of them get to really just play off each other. And Julian Glover? No, not Julian Glover. What's that actor's name? Is it wait? The voice of
Two-Face.
The voice of Riddler.
It's not Jim Carrey.
This will come to me eventually. You two talk amongst yourselves, I think.
Well, you said Jim Carrey. I don't know if you guys have spoken about this, but did you see that fan theory that that movie would be better if they switched roles?
Well, where Two-Face or where Jim Carrey played Two-Face?
Oh, and Tommy Lee Jones
because I
was the
think
Riddler?
like at some point in time, like either they were considered for it or like someone pointed out that like if they switched roles, if those two actors switched roles, the movie would be like infinitely better.
Oh.
It was like a fan theory.
That would be cool. I mean, I love the scene so much where Riddler gets into the Batcave and is doing like the dance with the bombs.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I couldn't imagine
That's
I couldn't imagine Tommy Lee Jones doing
but
anything
like they would be
that.
very different versions
Yeah.
of those characters. But like like just Jim Carrey has this way of being very serious and you know, he can be a very good dramatic actor.
Yeah, he can argue with himself, which is what a lot of what Two-Face is.
Exactly. And then Jamie Lee.
Jamie Lee Curtis. Yeah.
Tommy.
I would see Jamie Lee Curtis as any Batman villain, actually. I'd see her as Batman. I'd watch anything with her.
Right.
Except for Scream Queens. That shit was terrible.
That was horrible.
Yeah.
Anywho.
But anyway, he would be a different kind of Riddler, too. Like, you know, it'd be kind of like a little bit more of like No Country for Old Men type.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was Tommy Lee Jones has talked about that. That was one of the problems is how do you play off Jim Carrey going as crazy and camp as he does? And I'm sure Joel Schumacher was probably not giving him the best direction on that too. But it seemed like they're both like, oh, just both of you be like campy and loud and ridiculous. You can't do that.
You can't outdo that against Jim.
No, you have to have someone in that duo be the straight man.
Yes.
Except, I mean, Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah,
but like they're separate.
Yeah,
they're separate a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and I guess you have,
and also there's when they are doing like their best bits, there is a straight man in the middle.
That's exactly it. Is that I mean, Batman can't really in the cartoon. He often is the straight man. Like even in this episode, he basically kind of plays that role. But in the movies, that character is much quieter. When it's Val Kilmer, it doesn't really help either. Let's be perfectly honest. But I don't think that would have.
There was a really Screen Junkies put out the Black Panther Honest trailer this week.
Okay,
just to date this episode. And there was a point that you made, the point they made in the episode, in the clip that you brought, that you kind of talked about, and it's like, what did Black Panther do that no one else did? Like no other superhero has done. It's like he doesn't quip.
Exactly.
And it's just like
he refuses to quip, and they just show scene after scene of people joking
like
and
setting
making
him
fun
up,
of him, and he just refuses.
I didn't even think about that.
And they're like, I thought you had to be a comedic asshole to save the universe.
Exactly.
Oh my god, you're right. He doesn't quip.
No,
because even Batman quips sometimes.
Exactly.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. Oh my god. Well, now we know. Chadwick Boseman, the world's best straight man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although it's like, so because along that lines of having to have like, how do you play against that sort of absurdity? Years ago, I read Michael Caine's first autobiography, and I love Michael Caine. He's amazing in everything. So this was written. I think he had just done like Muppet Christmas Carol, which is I watch that movie every Christmas. It's a delight.
But you don't watch Richie Rich's Christmas Wish.
No one watches Richie Rich's Christmas Wish, Cameron.
Yes.
Some people do.
I said no one should.
No one should.
No one does.
But he was talking about getting cast in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, which have either of you guys seen that? It's him and Steve Martin. And weirdly enough, Ian McDiarmid, who plays Emperor Palpatine, plays like the butler in it. It's like one of the few times you see him not as the Emperor. It's really bizarre. But it's a great movie. They're both con men. But he got cast. He's like, how the hell? And I mean, this was made in like the early 80s. So how the hell do you go up with Steve Martin at that time? I mean, I'd say even more so Steve Martin than beyond like Jim Carrey in the 90s even too, in terms of just like this comedy powerhouse and just the energy and the sort of how do you do it? And so he realized he was not going to play the movie as a comedy. He played it as a drama. And every scene he's in, he plays that line like it's a dramatic line. And as a result, he is incredibly funny. And then you could see that being the starting point for his just dry wit that is carried through in so many other things.
Nice.
You needed something like that in Batman Forever. Like if you're going to do that, you need to have someone be that dry.
Exactly. And I think that's why they say switching the roles would do that. It would give you a different type of Riddler to play off of an out there Two-Face.
Well, because I mean, I love Tommy Lee Jones, but I don't see him as. I mean, he can do kind of quippy stuff. He can be dry, but I don't know if he could have been dry against the absurdity of Jim Carrey. I think that's a really good point. Actually, if you swap that, you take a natural comedic talent and make them be dramatic, and
because
do the
that's what he
opposite.
does in Men in Black. In Men in Black, it's Will Smith who's just like the one who's out there, and Tommy G. Lee. Why can't I say this?
Tommy G. Curtis.
Yeah,
is the straight man to it. He's just kind of like a, well, kid, you'll learn, and then just walks away. And I think that it would have really worked.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all of this doesn't really matter, but
no.
Yes, it does, because we're rebooting this.
Yeah,
you heard it live on the podcast.
casting going out now.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna remake Batman Forever, guys.
Yes, same cast.
Same, exactly.
Exact
Well, I
same.
mean, let's hang on. Let's stop and think about this for a second.
Drew Barrymore.
Yeah, we could probably get Drew Barrymore.
Mm-hmm.
We could definitely get Val Kilmer.
Yeah, what else is
Yeah,
he
what's
doing?
he doing?
Yeah. We would probably have to pay Chris O'Donnell quite a bit just because he's making that sweet NCS Los Angeles money. But I think we can get him. Nicole Kidman would be the hardest get because she is like on a big meteoric rise after Big Little Lies.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she would be the hardest one. You could probably get Jim Carrey, I would think.
I don't know. I feel like he's. I
might
think
be
he's too far gone now.
He's kind of past the point of doing this sort of stuff, actually.
I don't know. I think because of the rivalry with Tommy, I think that,
Oh, if we got one, you think we'd
I
get
think
together?
if we got Tommy, he'd come back just to
Just to
kind
spite
of
him?
repair
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Well, you've heard that they hate each other on the set, right?
Yeah, no, that's why I'm saying
Yeah.
he would come back. He would come back just to like, all right, yeah.
Yeah, there's that famous quote when they're in the middle of shooting and Jim Carrey sees Tommy Lee Jones at dinner one night when they're off the set, and he goes to talk to him, and Tommy Lee Jones just like puts down his fork and knife and looks at him and goes, "I cannot sanction your buffoonery,"
Yeah.
and just turns and goes back to eating.
What do you even do when someone says that to you?
You,
You walk away.
I feel like you have like a. I feel like you have to have some kind of rubber toy and just go honk honk,
Yeah,
and then walk away.
It's all sad.
Yeah,
I might just start saying that to people now when they come up and say hi to me.
you should. Just
a
random
natu-
people on the
Just a
street.
natural response back.
Mhm.
I have like the Charlie Brown music playing as you
Yeah,
walk away.
the
like they do in
slow,
Arrested
sad.
Development.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, they're
No,
fine.
such a good pull. I love it.
Okay, if we didn't get the new cast, just to stretch this podcast out a little longer,
No, it's fine. Keep
how
paddling,
would
we got
you
time.
recast Batman Forever nowadays?
Again, are we going with the exact same plot, or like
Okay,
how do we do it?
exact same
Okay,
story.
same.
Beat for beat.
Are we
like,
trying to
same-
make it better, or are we just trying to get the exact same?
You try to recapture the tone of Batman Forever, but
Yes.
now.
Yes.
Oh God. Okay.
Or kind of like in a 21 Jump Street type way, where it's like it's self-aware.
Let's do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay. Oh wait. Oh, that completely changes my answer now.
Where were you going first?
Well, I was gonna say natural casting point for the Riddler, Kevin Hart.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like Kevin Hart is not
Yeah.
quite the same, but he's kind of in the same realm as the
He
modern
is.
Jim Carrey.
he is. Honestly, you could just do Kevin Hart and The Rock again.
The
Like,
Rock.
Oh my
like, I'm
God.
just like,
I would love a Rock's Two-Face.
What would that even look like?
It's just Bane, but half the face.
Half the face. But they would still put him in those ridiculous
Yeah,
two-tone suits. though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
yeah. Steve Harvey suit.
Yeah, but the sleeves are ripped off.
Oh,
On
of
one
course.
half.
Yeah, on
Of course.
yes, just one half sleeve ripped
Of
off.
course. Okay, I'm trying to think who'd be like the modern Chris O'Donnell, because he was just kind of like on the rise at the time. He had done the
Chris Pratt.
Dead Poet Society. No, Chris Pratt's
Oh,
too
I
big.
think he's too big. Yeah.
He's way too big at this point.
No, I was talking about in terms of comedy, but
Oh,
Who can get away with doing Sock Fu?
who can do Sock Fu?
I mean, if they didn't already attempt it, Joseph Gordon-Levitt is still
Yeah.
a top choice.
For some reason, Harry Styles is coming to mind. Like he's trying to
I
carve
could see
himself a
Harry
movie career. I
Styles.
guess he'd
I
be
can see
like,
that.
we'll
I can
make
see
him, we'll
that.
make him Robin.
Yeah.
Make him this weird 20-year-old man who goes to live with a billionaire.
yeah,
Nothing weird about that at all.
not at all. It would fit.
It was
his
fine in the
character.
90s. It's fine
Fine.
now.
Hey, it was fine in the 50s. They shared a bed at the time.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, Harry Styles is a pretty good choice.
Okay, so Harry Styles, Kevin Hart, Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Who's our
Uh,
Batman in this story?
Who's the modern Val Kilmer?
Who's the modern Val Kilmer? That is a sentence I did not expect today.
Okay, this I actually think he'd be very good. This is like a weird choice. Luke Evans.
Okay.
I don't know why that came to mind. So he was Gaston in Beauty and the Beast.
Gotcha.
He's also in a couple of the Fast and the Furious movies.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Who is Sean Eastwood? Who is
Oh,
Clint Eastwood's son?
Scott Eastwood.
Scott Eastwood.
Okay, sorry. Scott Eastwood would be the new Chris O'Donnell. Scott Eastwood is
yeah.
the new Chris O'Donnell.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then
So we've got 2 members of Fast and Furious already. How do we just reshape Fast and Furious into the Batman Forever?
Yeah.
where do we fit Vin Diesel as Alfred?
Yeah, I was about to say that exactly. Vin Diesel's Alfred.
Okay, wait, and then we need a new Nicole Kidman though.
We have 3 choices. I mean, I'm trying to think of the ladies of Fast and Furious.
Oh, right,
I knew
course,
that was
of
what
course,
you-
of course. Well, Gal Gadot's already taken.
Yeah.
Now Jordana Brewster, she doesn't do anything anymore. You could be
I
Michelle
see her as more
Rodriguez.
I see Brewster's more of like a Catwoman kind of figure.
Yeah,
Or like
I
a-
could see that. Oh, she'd
like
make a good Catwoman.
Or
yeah.
a Summer Gleason.
A news reporter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Who's like the modern Nicole? Who's like the actress that is in everything, whether she needs to be there or not?
Ooh, Anna Kendrick.
Anna Kendrick. I was.
I
Gonna
mean, I love her.
I love
it
her
hurts
too.
to say
No,
that.
I didn't. No, I didn't mean that like in a
Okay,
bad way.
yeah.
I meant like, I think you're on like who's in that wheelhouse?
Mhm.
Jennifer
Lawrence.
Lawrence.
No. Rihanna.
Ooh.
Rihanna would be a
And like,
yeah.
look, I'm super excited for Ocean's 8. I haven't really seen anything with her as an actress, but I'm super excited for that
Well,
movie. And I
she's-
think
Oh, you
she's gonna
didn't
be
see
great.
Valerian?
No.
Valerian, and
No.
she did the
Battleship.
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 right.
So
Haven't
she doesn't
seen
have
either.
the great. I mean, third time's the charm. I'm
yeah,
gonna give it to her.
I'm thinking there. I think I would like to see her in that role actually.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
So we've done it.
Yeah.
We've done it, guys. We've recast Batman
You're right.
Forever.
Look, get ready for theaters 2020.
I'm gonna get so many
Batman
letters.
Forever After.
I bet you more people would see that than they would see another Batman movie starring Ben Affleck.
Yeah,
I would
I would.
if I had to choose.
You're not wrong. Poor Ben.
Should we talk about Mad Love?
I guess so.
Yes,
I
yes,
kind of
yes.
want to. I want to flesh the story out a little more. I want to hear the dialogue between Two-Face and Alfred.
Oh no, I think you. Well, there would be none.
Right.
Yeah.
They would never be in the same scene.
Which is. Oh wait, hang on. Let's stop and think about this. So in Batman Forever, they knock Alfred out.
Mhm.
Who knocks him out? Is it Two-Face or Riddler?
Oh, it has to be Kevin Hart.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That would be like the most hilarious.
But no,
thing.
but the fact that it's so that you would finally get The Rock and Vin Diesel in a scene together. The only thing that would happen is Vin Diesel getting knocked out.
Yeah. Well, no, there'd be a struggle. There'd be an even fight, and then Kevin Hart would come with a giant.
Giant question mark cane.
yeah, the
Yes,
question-
the question mark. I was seeing a fire hydrant, and just slapping Vin Diesel, and then like the thing is,
and he'd do his little reaction face.
yeah, but
Yeah.
here's the thing: he would land on top of the Rock, so that'd be his victory.
Yeah.
Of the Rock, would be like, help me get this guy off.
Yeah.
Of like, I need help to like he's so big, I can't get him off of me.
Also, what I love about this is, did they make tuxedos in wife beater format?
Yes.
I want to see this so bad now.
So Mad Love.
We definitely cannot get to the end of this episode and not acknowledge the amazing exit line from the Joker when he leaves the dentist's office.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
May the floss be with you, which was not in the comic.
Yeah.
And I checked. I was like, oh, that they must have put that in there because it's Mark Hamill.
I would love if that was just Mark Hamill on the fly.
Oh.
Like I would have loved to.
I
know
kind of thought it
that
was. I, like, especially when I heard it wasn't in the
Yeah.
comic book, I assumed that was just like a Mad Lib that he did.
Mm-hmm.
A Mad Lib that he
Mad-
did?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh.
they gave him the script and they were like, insert
Yeah,
witty line here.
exactly.
It was a Mad Lib.
That's totally how script should be written.
That's absolutely should be, yeah. And then Batman jumps into the noun.
Yes.
Speaking of
He
the
has a look of adjective.
this is very much in line with like Mad Love and going into it, but like the randomness of the next scene, because the next scene is when they're back in
the
Joker's
hideout.
lair,
Yeah.
in the hideout, and he's going through all of his plans, and she's in the teddy. Which, by the way, again, watching this, you're like, are you allowed to curse on there? I don't know.
So,
On this show,
to,
Yeah.
to, qu-
to quote
to
my
quote
mother.
Cameron's mom, Tim Talk Podcast is just.
Oh, do you?
no, you go for it.
I don't remember it.
You don't remember it? I don't remember it.
Oh,
No, it was Cameron goes on tangents and Chris says fuck a lot.
Okay, so I'm allowed to say it. All right,
Yeah.
that's good. So, because the only reason why I brought it up was because her in the 90, that whole scene, you're like, oh, they fuck.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah,
like
they
it
do.
is clear that they, like, I was just watching it and she's like, I got the whoopee cushion. You're
Yeah.
like, what do they do with that whoopee cushion? I would totally watch that. Like,
Oh,
I
I would watch
I don't
that
know
too.
what's going down,
Yeah.
but they get into some stuff.
Oh yeah, like aren't you gonna rev your Harley?
Vroom, vroom. Yeah, it's just
Well,
for a kids
and
cartoon, it's so sexual.
Yeah.
I love it too because in the comic there's some notes from both, like Paul Dini does the intro and then Bruce Timm does some like kind of trivia, and he talks about when they wrote the comic that they had the original version being a little bit racier because it was Harley like riding an old school like chopper with her legs up in the air, and they changed it so it was a little bit more subdued, and that's what they kept. But they have the drawing. You can kind of see it way down in the corner here of like the original sketch of her with her like legs up.
Yeah.
It's quite a bit more sexual.
Yeah, yeah.
Already being pretty sexual to start
Rev
with.
Your Harley is just like,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a great line
It's
though.
an absolutely a great line.
I mean, it just Paul Dini is an amazing writer. We've talked about this so many times before, but there's probably never been a better writer for the Joker, right?
Right.
I mean, I can't necessarily speak for the comics per se, but I think certainly in terms of any sort of televised format, there's never been a better writer for the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
He's amazing, and he is so genuinely funny, and he's really dark in this episode too.
Yes.
Like, especially when he shows up at the restaurant later, and he knocks her out the window.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's a really intense moment. And then
Well,
she,
like,
they have that long fall too.
Right
like,
after the scene where, you know, she's kind of distracting him and she says why don't you just shoot him and all this other, he hits her and you're
Yeah.
like, whoa, this, again, we are going into some adult themes here I just was not expecting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he throws her outside in her underwear.
Mhm.
And again, for me, just because like in my podcast we always like take the 90s writing and look at it through a new lens. It's like
To add some context, you and your friend do a podcast
Oh, yeah.
about Boy Meets
I didn't
World.
even
We
mention
will
that.
go into more
Yeah,
detail
yeah.
about it at the end.
Oh, that's
but
right.
yes,
I
yes.
want
Didn't
so many
even
Boy Meets
mention
World
that.
things to talk about.
I know.
terrible promoting.
Who are
Yeah.
you talking to on that
Are you
front?
Team
I mean-
Lauren? Were you a fan of Lauren in Boy Meets World?
So we'll go into that.
Oh, I have
a little
so many
bit.
things to say about
but
Lauren.
Again, there's a lot to dive into. But speaking of Mad Love,
Wait,
and
sorry,
then
who's
I'll
Lauren?
go completely into. Have you not seen Boy Meets
I haven't
World?
seen it since it aired.
I mean,
That
to be
was
fair, she
20
was
years
only in
ago.
2 episodes.
But she's such a it's a
She's-
pivotal
Wait,
moment.
Oh
this-
man,
It's
it
very
is
pivotal. And they even bring it up in they bring it up again in Girl Meets World.
good.
They,
What?
they acknowledge
man.
it. They
Oh,
acknowledge
thank
it.
God.
Yeah.
Wait, did like
Lauren was a girl that
Oh,
Corey
is-
cheated on Topanga with.
I vaguely
from the-
recall
from the-
this
from the
now.
Recap
They
Girl.
bring it back up. It's a moment.
Oh my God, it's
Yeah.
Linda Cardellini.
It is,
Yeah.
and that's
Well,
why
I
I love her.
I understand now.
Right?
I mean,
Right?
it's the '90s. If you can't, I mean, again, we can't get into this because I can tangent.
Oh,
I can
me
just
too.
Do it. But all of that being said, when he throws her out, I was like, this is again, they do such a good job of showing this abusive relationship and how that dynamic works. Like if the Joker were really involved with someone, there would be no respect. There would be no consideration of her and her body and all this other stuff. And this is a very common thing, unfortunately, for domestic violence, for him to like put her out in her underwear and then just go back. And then again, later on when she calls him, and she does call him, it's very much a fuckboy response where he's just
Like,
like,
where have you been?
well, where have you been?
Where have you
Like
been?
he didn't even consider that she was missing until she called. He's like, oh yeah, where are you? And I just love the truth in that kind of writing.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that Batman gets it.
Yeah.
He nails on the head. It's like, Joker, he does not love you. He
Mhm.
just pegged you as hired help this entire time. He manipulated you the same way he manipulates everybody.
Mhm. Like, which story did he tell this time?
Yeah.
That hurt.
Yeah.
Like again, like
Yeah.
when he goes, what did he say that one time? The only time I saw Dad laugh was at the ice capades, and
Yeah.
she was like, "It was the circus."
told me it was the
He told me it was
circus.
it's a moment where
Yeah.
you were talking about it earlier. The sympathy for her, you're like, oh, that. And I also love it because it stays true to the fact that the Joker always changes his origin story.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like that little bit right there is like truth in his.
Well, and what I love about that moment too is that, I mean, Batman is he's deliberately hurting her because he's
Mhm.
manipulating her as well to get out of the trap, but he's also the only person who's being real with her.
Yeah.
too. Like it is this weird double act of he's messing with her to his own ends, but also he is kind of trying to help her. He's like,
I mean, that's we've talked about that before. Overall, Batman still believes his villains can be cured.
yeah,
And so like even in the moment of peril, he still believes that there's a good side in Harley. Because even calling her Harleen.
yeah,
Yeah, he does.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Because he laughs and he's like, "Face it, Harleen."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's such an incredible moment.
Yeah.
But I do love when the Joker shows up then, and he's still. I mean, this is terrible to say, but he's still being funny in that moment, even when he's berating Harley. Like it's like knocks her across the room. Obviously, bad.
We do not support domestic abuse.
We do not support that. But then he goes back to Batman. He's like, "Oh, give me 1 second."
Yeah, exactly.
And like that's a really tough line to toe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, do you guys find that it goes too far with the way the Joker treats Harley?
Again, I think that it definitely brings up conversations that should be had. But I don't know if it goes too far because it doesn't show it. You know, there's implications, there's, you know, body movement and all this other stuff. But it's not like we get like an actual fist to the jaw type scene. So I feel like because of that, they give you all the pieces to have this discussion. You're like, this is not okay. But at the exact same time, they don't overdo it. They're not sensationalizing it.
Well, I mean, I think that's true in general of the Joker in this iteration, in this show, is that we hear about and we see reference to how genuinely homicidal he is. Like when in the flashbacks with Harley, and she's freaking out because he's been gone for a week. She reads the newspaper. It's like Joker's still at large, like body count rises, but we never actually see him kill anyone in the show. I'm pretty sure we don't ever see him kill anyone in the show. And then even in Phantasm, we know he kills some of the mob bosses, like one of the mob. I think Philestra. I think he kills, but we don't ever see it happen on screen. Like,
well, I like even if you want to go to the Heath Ledger version, like even then we very rarely see him, like he kills, but like not most of the time he sets people up to, you know, go after themselves.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. Cause he shoots one guy in the bank. He does the pencil thing.
The
on
pencil
somebody,
thing, but like everything else, like again, it was like that the whole two boats.
Oh,
thing,
yeah.
the money and the dog. You know, it was like all of that was really like the chaos theory.
Yeah, even in the beginning, because I mean, he shoots one person, but before that one person gets shot, there's 7 other people that get shot.
Yeah, he just orchestrates all of it. But I think that works in favor of making the character. It's weird to call him likable. I generally think the Joker in BTOS is likable. I'm not so much the Heath Ledger version. Like he's charismatic and you're drawn in, but he's not like quote unquote likable. But here, because they do ground him so much in the comedy, they play that element that's what he's obsessed with. They let him be funny because we don't actually see him be as evil as he is in this world. I feel like by the time we get to Justice League, his rare appearances in that, they've pushed him a little bit further because
I was gonna go Dark Knight Returns.
Well, I mean,
when you see him literally murder people all down the tunnel of love.
Oh, well, I'm saying DCAU though.
Oh.
Yeah, obviously the Dark Knight Returns, yeah, like he's just killing people left and right, like really brutally killing people. But in DCAU, I think him at his most fucked up is Return of the Joker.
Oh yeah.
You've seen that, right? Okay, you've seen Return of the Joker.
No.
The Batman Beyond movie, Return of the Joker?
Not in. I've seen it before, but not in some time. Like not enough for me to recall anything.
Oh, okay.
That's
Joker at his most fucked up, hands down.
Well, I always get because they take part of the Red Hood story for that.
They do, yeah.
So yeah, I get scenes from that and scenes from Red Hood kind of spliced together in my head.
Red Hood,
because like the crowbar scene at the beginning of Red Hood is so.
I mean, that's straight from the comics. Yeah,
I've read that one, Death in the Family.
You've actually read that?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't read that.
I have it if you want to read it.
Yeah.
I
have New Frontier if you want to read it.
Do you? I have it too.
You have it. Yeah.
My roommate back in college used to make fun of me because I had a whole shelf of just the Death of series.
What? Really?
So yeah, because for some reason it fascinated me of all the characters like dying off.
Yeah.
So I had like the Death of Superman series, Death in the Family, Death of Gwen Stacy, Death of the Family, which was the newer version.
Right.
Yeah, it was just a whole shelf of just like death.
Oh my god. It's fucked up, man.
Yeah, I look at it listening to Paramore and it's great.
Just slowly putting on your guy liner.
Oh yeah.
In your cracked mirror.
I like that visual.
Yeah, but no, I think the Joker here is so perfectly balanced in terms of just him being violent and funny and psychotic. And like, I really like the scenes when he is interviewing with Harley, actually. Like, you can see him, another stage manipulation, but him approaching it from sincerity. Like, Harley even says, like, I prepared everything I could possibly imagine except for that, when he talks about his dad beating him.
Well, I love that. Like, that's interesting. Sorry, if we can, I want to talk about the entry of her going to Arkham, because two things. One, it introduces another female character that, of course, we don't see a lot of. But I love the other doctor in that scene because
Dr. Leland.
Yeah, Dr. Leland. I love her because she has like of course, as a person of color, it's just like she has like this person of color like attitude to it, where she's like, girl, like, if you're here just to write a tell-all book, you will be eaten alive. Like, that's just kind of what she says. She's
this
like,
crazy white bitch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's her approach to it, and I love that little bit of flavor, but then also it allows someone else to be like, look, this is a dangerous place. You may think, like, working in psychology, working in Arkham Asylum, you are dealing with people who know how to mess with you.
Yeah.
And then so going from that to when Harley goes to her office and there's that little letter there, and she comes back and she's like, what was this doing in my office? And he immediately is like, if you were really going to tell, you would have already. Again, it's just like pinpointing, he got her like right off the bat.
Yeah.
And that is, again, I just love those little details in there.
Again, this is for the reason why I think you can make an argument for this being the best BTOS episode. Now, you can have a separate argument about whether this counts or not, since technically it's New Batman Adventures. But I think this is a better episode than Heart of Ice because it gets that character dynamic so well. They really understand how these three people interact with each other, because they all have one-way interactions, and they all interact together too. But they're very different with each other. It's so very, very dynamic and interesting.
So I have a question for you too, because we talked about this at BTOS a lot. We haven't really talked about it as much recently, mainly because we haven't had character introductions in a while.
Right.
We used to always say that for the majority of Batman villains, Batman is the reason they became a villain.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Can we blame Batman for because Harley blames Batman for Harley?
Yeah.
Yeah, she said everything was perfect until that Batman came around.
That's a good question. I mean,
so I think you guys,
or can Batman blame himself for Harley? Because I feel like that's more of how he deals with his villains.
So I'm gonna be a little bit of nerd for you guys. I listened to your episode on Harley's Holiday, which, by the way, is one of my favorites. And
I'm sorry.
no, again, on Harley's Holiday, you point out.
Can you tell us what we got wrong?
No. It's not that you got wrong. You pointed out that Batman does consider himself partly to blame because like, had he not sent the Joker to Arkham, again, even in this, she kind of turns because the Joker's been beaten up so badly by Batman. It's that abuse of the Joker that really is just like my poor little baby. That he does blame himself, because it's like, if I wasn't here, then the Joker wouldn't have anyone to play off of, and the Joker being alive has influenced so many lives, and she is just another casualty of this. So I think that answers your question, that one could argue. Do I think it holds a lot of water, or do I think that Bruce is just playing the sympathy card? It's just like
Wow, we used to be a lot more insightful.
I know. What has happened to us?
Oh, we got lazy.
That's true. Yeah, we're well into our third season, or whatever you want to call it at this point.
Yeah.
We've given up on it. We've just become stereotypes of ourselves.
I know, it's great. I make tangents and you say fuck.
You don't read comics, and I just get really camp sometimes. It's great. But it's interesting you bring up that moment, 'cause I would agree with that idea that he probably recognizes the role he plays and where she comes from, but I don't think he would directly blame himself. But what's cool is in the comic, in that moment when the Joker shows up at Arkham and he's all busted up and is getting dragged away, when she runs up and falls at his feet, there's an actual reaction shot off of Batman, which is really interesting, because in the cartoon, he doesn't react at all to what she's doing. And it's taken me forever to find it, and I'm just... Oh, here we go. Yeah, it's like the top of the panel, like, he comes in, and it's a close-up on her face, and she's crying, and she's distraught, and Batman's like, what the shit?
It's so funny that you point this out because what I notice in there is she's like they take the Joker away and she's
Yeah.
screaming down the hallway and I'm like, how does she keep her job, or like does she even keep her job at that moment?
Well, I
Because
guess-
it has to be a moment where everyone is
Yeah.
like, okay, you've clearly gotten too attached. Does anyone, do either of you watch Grey's Anatomy, or have you watched Grey's Anatomy?
I watched like the first 2 seasons back
Alright,
in the day.
Well, in the first 2 seasons, Izzy, like the character, which reminds me a lot of this. One of the main complaints, which again echoes kind of the Dr. Leland thing, is that the character Izzy gets too involved with her patients.
Is that Katherine Heigl?
Yeah, it is Katherine
Yeah,
Heigl.
doesn't she fall for Jeffrey Dean Morgan?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm reminded of in this little snippet is a doctor who's gotten too close to her patients. And if this was like an hour-long procedural or or like a medical show or something like that, that would be the point where they realize, oh, you've crossed the line. Like we were letting the infatuation go on, and we thought it was harmless, but now we can see that this has gone on way too far. And like the little reaction shot from even Batman that you just showed me, it's like okay, this is way closer than it should be.
Yeah. And I guess one can presume there's almost no time that passed between that scene of him getting dragged off and her looking at him through the cell and running off to go become Harley Quinn. We can assume it's maybe like an hour max, where they're like, okay, we're gonna get him settled, and then we're gonna deal with this crazy lady.
We're gonna have a talk.
But we're gonna have a little chat in our office. But in the meantime, just go settle down somewhere. Maybe avoid caffeine. Have some tea. We'll come back to you.
What I think is cool is looking at the comic panels, and it was similar in the episode. The shot of Joker, kind of the scene we talked about right when he gets brought in, is perfectly mirrored in the shot where Harley is brought in.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Did not
Yeah,
notice that.
they're bandaged up almost the exact same way.
Oh, that's crazy.
What I like about that is I feel that
40 and
in the
72,
scene that we're talking about right now with the Joker, I felt that was also him knowing he was being watched. It's still the Joker manipulating. Like even if he was in pain, kind of like the little Joker being vulnerable in bed with the bandages. I feel that it's still a show. It's a show for Harleen at the time. He doesn't know what she's about to do, but he is still working her in that moment. And I think that,
No, it's amazing. And we should probably wrap up talking about Mad Love, because do our closing bits here. I had 2 things I want to mention real quick, though. One is a little bit of trivia that I read up on. So when she gets pushed out of the building, that would normally be enough to kill someone. Apparently, the reason she doesn't die was that she's still feeling the effects of like the toxin that Poison Ivy gave her once that made her like a little bit stronger, a little more agile, and so that allows her to survive. Which also comes into play later on. But since you haven't seen Return of the Joker, I won't talk about it. I won't talk about it now. But for those who have seen that, you'll know what I'm referring to. And the other question I had for you guys. So we have seen. Because I generally prefer the new Batman Adventures styling. I think one exception, we've talked about this, is in fact the Joker. That they made him less expressive when they transitioned. And so we've been able to look at the comic here, where it's in the old style. And then we just watched the episode in the new style. Do you think this episode would have been better if the whole thing was done in the BTOS style rather than the new Batman Adventures?
Yes, mainly because it sounds dumb, but I want the hat. Because what I love and hate about the new Batman Adventure style is the black eyes. But I would love the scene where like he pulls the gun out. He's wearing his hat. He pulls the gun out, and I see the shot of the brim of the hat making that perfect shadow over his face.
Oh yeah,
where you can only see the colored pupils.
Yes, that would have been really cool.
Yeah, and it's like the pure evilness of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know how staging works in the 2 comparisons, but what I loved about this episode is there are scenes where they kind of show you the frame of mind of a character, but like within the shot. So when the Joker and Harley are being interviewed, of course we know that they're in the office, but the scene is set up where it's just the 2 of them, and I feel like it's because like in that world that's all they see.
Yeah.
That's all she feels. And the same thing when when Batman is talking to Harley and being like, he's told that story 100 times. Again, they're in the warehouse. We've seen the scenery every other moment, but in that scene, she's isolated. She's in the background just by herself. So
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know if the same art direction would happen in both styles, but I
Mm-hmm.
really enjoyed that they kind of took time to echo the mentality of the characters.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Like when they're in the restaurant, right? And he's like, "Oh, like the ice show," and she's like, "Oh,
Yeah,
he
yeah,
said a
yeah,
certain." Yeah,
yeah.
I noticed that too. Yeah, is that she's kind of small in the frame.
Yeah,
She's all by herself.
small
It's
in the frame,
really,
she's singular.
really
It's
beautiful.
really well done.
Yeah,
Again, it was something that I noticed. I was
Yeah.
like, oh wow, they're really doing well with like those moments that mean something.
yeah. No, the art direction has always been
yeah.
fantastic, and I think I in general I would have liked to have seen this animated in the BTOS style because I think everyone's a little more expressive. The one advantage they had in waiting to adapt this was that Kids WB was a lot less strict about content. Was it in here too?
No, they cut her out a little bit.
Ah, goddamn. Yeah, I guess it's. Yeah, I mean, there's this.
Yeah, that,
yeah,
that,
yeah,
one.
yeah,
yeah,
like
yeah,
isolated,
but
yeah.
it's when you're doing like a wider frame, it helps a little bit. But because Kids to Be was less restrictive, I think one they're able to include the innuendo a lot more here, but also all the characters bleed at some point.
Yes, I noticed.
Which is
that.
like they never did that in BTOS. The only time that Batman ever bleeds, and that was on the Wings, the first episode. And they're like, you got to stop doing that. And then in Mask of the Phantasm, but here, like
The
Harley
Joker-
has blood coming down her face. The Joker does. Batman
all
does.
three of them have blood.
Yeah.
There are consequences to their interactions,
Yeah.
and I thought that I wasn't sure if that was something that was uncommon, but I definitely noted the
It's-
fact that they draw blood.
Yeah, it's pretty uncommon. Even when they switched over to New Batman Adventures, they were less restricted. But even then, there's not a lot of blood shown. And I think if they had it included, you're right, it would have lessened the reality of this. Because I think that's part of what makes this whole thing work is that it does acknowledge that everything about this is super fucked up. And by acknowledging that, it lets it all be just a little bit more real and a little bit more like unique. So we wouldn't have had that. So I guess it's a good thing they waited. But I agree with you. I would have liked to see the old version of the Joker. His eyes, his
There's
creepy,
just
creepy fucking eyes.
One thing I want to bring up before we close this out, and
Yeah.
it's literally I've been thinking about this the entire time. There's a scene where she's just decided to be Harley Quinn, and she comes with the security guard and she hits him with a rubber chicken.
Oh yeah.
And then a brick falls out.
brick falls
and I
out,
was
yeah.
like, I love that little idea of
Yeah.
her being like, I have to do it. But like I have to hit him with a brick. But it would be even better if it was
Yeah.
like with a rubber chicken. And like seeing someone like just cut open a rubber chicken and stick a brick in there just for the bit. Again, I love that.
She's so committed to it. I mean, I'm glad they didn't have this, but also it would have been really funny if like the rubber chicken squeaked when it
That's
hit
what
him.
I was
Like,
thinking.
It would have lessened the impact of what was happening in that moment, but it would have been pretty good to have that little
Yeah.
go in there. All right, I think we should probably like wrap it up talking about. We have a hard out actually because we're at the booth, not at the apartment this time. Should we do quick bat plugs?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Squeeze that in real quick.
I'm trying to think if we should do. Okay, actually, let's do.
We'll
like,
save letters. Let's save letters for next week.
yeah, let's do that. Actually,
Yeah, do bad plugs, and then we'll talk
Yeah,
about Boy Meets World for the
I
next
know
10 minutes.
we have a few things. So I would just say, in regards to letters, I love that we have like pretty regular communication going on between the DC Watchtower guys, between Ashley Clark, Paul Hill, and Gordon Wills. They've been all chatting like on Instagram with us about all the stuff that's been going on
thanks,
recently. So
guys.
thanks, guys. We really appreciate it. So we'll go into more detail next time. But yes, CJ,
All right, so yeah.
what are your bat plugs?
My bat plug has to be my podcast.
Okay, good. I was like, we should talk about your podcast
Absolutely
at some
terrible
point.
for me not to do so. So I run a podcast with my friend TC called Bruh Meets World. It's exactly as I was just saying.
I didn't actually know the name of it. It's
Yeah,
so good.
Bruh Meets World. And we revisit we're doing it, season by season, revisit Boy Meets World, the 90s sitcom. And honestly, we've only done the first season so far. We're going to premiere season 2 in June, but seeing its origins and like where it started to where it becomes, it's like a
It's
vastly different
crazy.
show.
Yeah.
It started off very TGIF, cookie cutter, and it just became something completely different. And the reason why we did this is because unlike shows like Family Matters or Sabrina the Teenage Witch, all of those TGIF Full House shows, what makes Boy Meets World different was that it was trying to teach lessons. It was a really big experiment with teaching kids not just social issues, but sociological issues. Again, it's one of the first origins of the bromance that I think you've ever seen on TV. And that's kind of what made us pick it out. It's like, they were a bromance before bromances were a thing.
Yeah.
Corey and Sean, and like they take that relationship very seriously. And then you have the influences of people like Mr. Feeney and like the lessons that he teaches. I don't really think Feeney. Oh, we love the growth of Eric, by the way.
Yeah.
Like,
oh
Eric,
my gosh.
Eric starts off as such a regular older brother character, and then you can see there's like an episode where you see they learn his physical comedy abilities, and they're like, that's who we're doing. Like, that's
especially in season 1, we have a great connection to that because Jason, the friend,
do not. Are you serious?
yeah, he's the voice of.
We don't know him.
Oh, okay. I was going to say,
no, I wish.
Jason Marsden.
Yeah, Jason Marsden is the voice of everyone.
Yeah.
He pops up everywhere all the time.
And so he's the best friend in season 1 of Boy Meets World.
I forgot that he was only in season 1.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, worth acknowledging that Will Friedle, incredible performer.
Yeah.
Like, and people always like, oh, the guy from like Boy Meets World. No one knows that he's also Terry McGinnis, and he's amazing at that.
And Ron
Ron
Stoppable.
And Ron Stoppable. Like, not
Ron
only
Stoppable.
like incredible voice actor, but also like a genuine, amazing comedic performer back in the day.
So like he dedicates himself physically, and you can tell that just so much of that comedy in his scenes. Like they, one of the bits, if you are a huge fan of Boy Meets World, you know they wrote scenes to where Will Friedle and Ryder Strong, who plays Sean, they could not be in the same room because they would just constantly make each other break. And so they could not write scenes together with them because the comedy that would just come is just
amazing.
Like, you can't do it.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, that's what we do. We revisit it, kind of like what I did here a little bit. We kind of look at it through a intersectional lens now, and just, you know, feminism, race issues. There are a lot that sometimes they cover and sometimes they don't cover it. And it's just like, well, you know, how is this lesson relevant? And
that's interesting.
In the first season, it's a little less so because, again, it's trying to be that TGIF type show, but they hit on things like criminality, who gets to be considered a criminal, who doesn't. When Sean has like his whole cherry bomb episode, you have Topanga, who's like
the first feminist.
Yeah, she's like a feminist before
season 1 where
icon.
she does the circle, makeup circle.
Exactly, and like we talk about that when they have their first kiss, she says, you know, she's like, would this be your first kiss? And he's like, no, you know, he's trying to reject it because he's like, I think it's important for you to know that your first kiss would be when you didn't feel that you looked the most attractive. And there's just like a whole body positivity thing. And then they do it again when, you know, they're teenagers. It's a lot. The show's really, really well done and well written, and we just thought it was worth a visit.
Absolutely is. It's one of my favorites.
Can we come on?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, so season 1.
Let me talk about Lauren.
All right, no. So here's the thing. I can promise you that is my co-host TC's one of his favorite episodes. He goes on and on. He can talk about Lauren forever, and I have no problem bringing you on during that episode because.
Can I just be there, just watch this happen?
Yeah. I was gonna say,
I have nothing you contribute, but I'll just want to be there.
Is he pro or con Lauren?
He's pro.
Okay, good. Because I'm big pro Lauren.
Yeah, pro. I mean, I think it's important.
I love Topanga, but like.
Linda Cardellini.
Yeah.
Well, like for me, not even when you rewatch that episode, it's. And being an adult now,
I know.
You know, it's like as an adult, you're like, I will actually, you know, it kind of explains some things. Corey does very, very much the whole thing where it's like, you should have left by now. You know, it's like, it's just as an older person, you're like, oh, this was already down that road. You made your decision early on. Kind of like, just to bring it back, like the Joker when he was like, oh, if you were going to tell me, you would have done so. You know what you're doing at this point in time. So.
Oh my god! Well, maybe I'll have to go back and rewatch some of this stuff.
You should. I mean,
don't know what you're talking about.
We already have all of season 1 out. Again, I'm actually the straight man on our podcast, so if you thought that I was extreme, then you'll really love TC.
Well, I'm glad we were able to let you be yourself and open up and not have to be the straight man here.
No, I'm just saying that TC's like the more extreme.
I love it. I
love
it.
It's great.
Oh my god! Well, thank you for plugging that.
Yeah. Oh, and then also, Deadpool 2. Which you
shut your mouth.
Be watching. Again, I'm not going to say anything about it.
We'll see it by the time this episode
Other
comes
than
out.
you should watch Deadpool 2. And the last bat plug I have is Screen Prism. Have you guys ever heard of that?
No.
It's this YouTube series run by 2 women who they do exactly what we're trying to do, which is they revisit all of these movies and pop cultural things through like a sociological lens, and just kind of explain why people are attracted to them or like the underlying themes of things. And one of the things that they just released is how Deadpool, the first Deadpool, is a rom-com for guys.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
just the
absolutely.
male version of a rom-com, and they were able to successfully sell rom-coms to dudes. And even the story arc and the characters, they're all pretty much the same.
Oh.
You just don't see it. And yeah.
Okay.
So
I'll
Screen
have
Prism.
to go check that out.
You should.
Cameron, what you got?
I will also plug a YouTube series because I haven't been watching much else this week. There's a guy named Alan Pan.
Okay.
He's a YouTube scientist. He was meant to be the next generation of Mythbusters, or on the next generation of Mythbusters. So he's a really awesome nerd scientist. Maybe his probably most famous video was he's the guy that built the real life Mjolnir. He brought it down to Venice and had like all the strongmen try and pick it up.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was like an electromagnet, right? Like kept it on the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a magnet that turned off with only his fingerprint.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So
Nice.
only he could wield it.
That's fantastic.
But he just does a bunch of like super nerdy experiments. My favorite one is he makes firebending gauntlets. So they're gloves that shoot fire out, but they only shoot out if it's like speed sensitive.
Okay.
So only if you like punch at a certain speed will fire shoot out. So you had to have like you got like a real martial art expert to come in and test them out.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's so cool. And he just did a whole series on My Hero Academia, which I've talked about
So
many a time.
obviously you love it then.
Yes. So I highly recommend checking him out.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Might actually watch that. That sounds really
Yeah,
cool.
they're really cool.
All right. My 2 plugs. I mean, I'll go ahead and put in plugs. Just the print edition of Batman, Mad Love, and other stories because that's what I've been reading. It's really good. And then the other one is a recommendation from Paul Hill on Instagram to start following this artist Sean Galloway. And so I was looking at his stuff, and I think either he is a Disney artist or he just does everything in kind of a Disney style. You guys can like see some of his stuff here.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
But yeah, so he does like all kinds of like there's stuff in like Batman and Superman, like Iron Man, but it's all done in this sort of like Disney style. And there's actual Disney stuff too with like cars and stuff. But I said stuff a lot in that sentence.
All right.
But it's some good stuff. guys.
I love it.
Worth checking out. But we should get going because I think someone's knocking on the door here to come take over the booth. So if you want to reach out to us, we are at Timm Talk Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Gmail. And I just realized today that if I were to tell you guys what our next episode will be, which will be chemistry and Beware the Creeper. Yes, that's what we'll be talking about next. So if you guys want to like write in some questions or thoughts about that ahead of time, that'd be great, and we can talk about them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I am personally at Lordifer on Twitter and Instagram.
I'm at, if you want to see my art, it's at Cameron.Dexter. If you want to see my face, it's at CamDexter_adventures. And if you want to see my shirts and stuff, it's at Core Memories Co.
Boom. And CJ,
All right.
where are you and all the things internet?
All the things internet. Well, Bruh Meets World is at Bruh Meets World. We're on all of the platforms: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We also have, you can like write us. We're on iTunes, all the platforms where you can get your podcast. Wherever you're listening to this, you can also find us. And then me personally, I'm on Twitter at Extra Siege. That's XTRACEEJ. And I do a lot of live tweeting on shows I like and movies and stuff like that.
Awesome.
Awesome.
All right. Well, CJ, thank you so much for coming and joining us.
Thank you
It
guys
was
for having
super
me.
fun.
Yeah, I really.
And
really
everyone,
enjoyed
stay
this.
tuned for that beautiful Batman Forever remake
Yes,
coming out
2020.
in the summer
When
of
it
2020.
does come out, I'm getting my royalties. I'm telling you.
Absolutely.
There's gonna be some exec that listens to this and like,
Yeah.
oh, this was ours.
We got it. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye.